Hey guys, RunBuck with RunBuck on Games. I was taking a look at the options I had in my deck around hitting and taking out high health units, golems, giants, things like that, because my minion hordes and skeleton armies, while good, were also very weak to AoE type attacks like being backed by a simple bomber or arrow attack, things like that. And so I started looking at the Inferno Tower on Wiki. And I know if you guys have looked over at the Wiki, you've probably glanced at Inferno and you can see the ranges and stuff. And initially my answer was, well, I'll just take the middle of this range as I compare it to other stuff. And so, I put in the, actually this is the number I'm going to move it to, but if this is the middle of the range, right? If I put those in for you, that's middle of the range. And the way you get there is like, so 525, you'd take 1000 minus 50, 1000 minus 50, which is 950, divide it by 2 to get to the middle, and add that to the starting point. That's the middle of the range, right? So, okay, that's a pretty good answer. But I was, being an anal guy, I was like, well, is that the right answer, though? Right? How do we figure that out? So I said, well, the first thing I was like, well, I wonder what the ramp-up time. I kind of got down a side path. I was like, well, what is the ramp-up time for the Inferno Tower? I assume it's linear. I didn't know, and it wasn't on the wiki. And I'm sure somebody's going to say, "Oh, but if you go look here, it's whatever." You can tell me where it is if it's the actually published. But I said, "Well, let's do a test." So I said, "Well, I did 2 tests to try to see it, and then I did some other ones watching YouTube videos and timing those because they seem to get fuller burns against golems and stuff." But here is my test: Brumbass versus my Inferno Tower. He's going to throw a prince in at it, and he comes. I put my Inferno behind the tower just to make sure it doesn't die. And if you timed it, it's about 3.5 seconds, but I don't think it got exactly to full burn. But you can kind of see it's about 3.5, 4 seconds total. And the other one that I timed that went against a giant actually went to 4 seconds. So we'll put in 4 seconds. Not that it matters, because that's a tangential question there. But 4 seconds, right? But really what you notice there is, like, if it gets to full burn, right, against a golem or a giant, that'll shift the range because it'll have more time at the maximum power, which will shift the average up. And so really picking the middle of the range is probably not it's a little undervaluing the damage that an Inferno will do for you. So here's how I modeled it to get a little bit better with the numbers. So here's the start and the ends for the ranges. There's the difference between the range. There's the time we're estimating it to be. So if you think it's a different number, let me know. I can change it. Comment down below. There's the slope of the line. 4 seconds to get from 50 to 1000 that's the slope, 237 damage per second. And then the middle of that line was, as we said, 525 for a level 1. But the average, what I did was I said, so if it's got a slope and then there's a flat part where it's at max power, we'll just shift that. We'll just apply the slope instead of being the middle being 2 seconds in, 0 to 4. We'll go like at 2.2 seconds. Now we can pick a different number, but we went with 2.2, and you can see, of course, that increased in the damage about 10%. So if I then updated my sheet to point, like you saw me flip it at the beginning, back to, whoops, you're like, oh my god, please stop. You can now see, we'll come over here and we'll resort on DPS over elixir, because I think the metric you need to look at cards at is not just DPS or health. You need to look at what it costs you to get it. So it's a statistic divided by the elixir cost. So dividing that, you can see the Inferno comes in at number 3 when sorted on DPS divided by elixir. Skeletons are at the top, but again, they can be taken out by simple things like arrows and bombers, so that's no good. The rocket itself is hard, it's a pretty small target area, and also, if you're trying to do a quick reaction, it's going to be, it's an option, I guess. It does do a lot of DPS down, but it won't take out. What you really want is you want to get it won't take out a golem, for example, but an Inferno, if you get it protected well enough and get it to max burn, it would. And then you can see the big drop off too. Look right here, from 167 all the way down to 130, then 119. So clearly Inferno is needed to give you that nice DPS boost, and it doesn't have bad health either when compared to other options. Very similar, so it's not like it's real weak. But anyway, that's the accurate way to model DPS for Inferno Towers. Take about, if you said here's the range and you're going 50% being in the middle, go about 60, 65% in the middle of the DPS range, and that'll probably get you the right number. If you want to be anal. All right. Hope it helps. Talk to you guys later.
What am I gonna do? My clan sucks. Hey, it's JTJ.
I think that's an all-out attack.
No, it's the legendary JTJU. JTJU. What? I like Wryhorn. You and this army. Download Clash of Clans for free. Then subscribe to JTJU and win.